point. So, and you could really actually write a poem literally about the Mona Lisa. You could write a poem inspired by the Mona Lisa, like looking at it, maybe the first word that comes into your head, or you could write a poem about a person who looks like the Mona Lisa. So there are many different things you could do looking at a picture. So let's try another one. This one is sort of random. It's not famous or anything, and this person is just like minor nobility. I told my mom I kind of want to look like that when I get old. So what do you think of when you see this picture? She looks, sorry? Wealthy. Yes, I would say that she looks pretty wealthy. Actually, as a matter of fact, this lady was a marchioness, or I'm not entirely sure how I'm pronouncing it correctly, but a marchioness was the wife of a marquis, and a marquis is a position of nobility. So it's very possible this lady was probably wealthy. Okay, very good point. And anything else? She looks, sorry? Evil. Oh, okay. You think that she looks evil. So, yes, I guess that she could be evil. Like, for instance, one of those secret agent people who are, actually during the Civil War, this lady, I don't think it's from the Civil War, but during the Civil War, then both sides actually would use women as spies because they would hide messages in these things they used to wear called hoop skirts, which had these really hoops in them. So they would hide it like that and then get messages passed. So that was a pretty cool way of spying on people, I guess. Okay, very good. So through looking at pictures, we can really get a lot of ideas for our poetry. And now, excuse me, I need to, oh, okay, there's my mouse. Sorry, I lost it for a second, so I had to grab it. Great, okay. Now moving on. Let's see, poetry tip number 5. History is a great inspiration for poetry. So, have any of you been studying some historical events or historical eras lately?
What are you studying in social studies class right now?
Ancient Mesopotamia.
Ancient Mesopotamia. I remember learning about that maybe about half a year ago, I would say. Yes, that is a very interesting topic. So, ancient Mesopotamia, and that's really where civilization got started quite a bit. So, what are some things you've learned about ancient Mesopotamia?
Brandon, do you recall anything in class?
Yeah, it was like.
Do you need a moment to think about it? Okay, Brooklyn?
It showed us like where it's located at.
Sorry? Oh, you learned where it was located at? Yes, very good. So it's like kind of in the Middle East between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, right? Is that correct? Okay, great. Okay, so you maybe learned about ancient Mesopotamia. Well, maybe you're inspired by what you've learned to write a poem. You could write a poem from the point of view of someone from that time period, or you could write a poem from describing one of the rivers. So all of those might be very interesting things to do. Okay, now moving on. Types of poetry and other useful stuff. So basically we're learning about types of poetry. Today we'll focus on haikus, sonnets, free verse, and limericks. So you might be learning a few more. But haikus are a form of Japanese poetry with 17 syllables in 3 unrhymed lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables, often describing nature or a season. So Basho, a Japanese guy, was a famous haiku writer. This is a haiku of my own. A lone chirp, the bird, left behind its own nest, welcoming the dawn. Sonnets are 14-line rhyming poems with set structure. William Shakespeare, the noted British poet, was famous for sonnets. A free verse poem does not have a fixed poetic meter and is usually unrhymed with lines of different lengths. The American poet Walt Whitman wrote free verse. Limericks are 5-line poems that are usually humorous, and the rhyme scheme is A, A, B, B, A. The English poet Edward Lear pretty famous for writing limericks. Here's one of my own. I thought that you would like the pie, for at least I had the will to try. But yes, the burnt crust is too hard, and the filling is just lard. At least I didn't make you die. Okay, so that is about a very bad pie, I presume. And finally, vocabulary for poetry. Meter is an arranged pattern of rhythm in a line of verse. And a stanza is the number of lines of verse forming a separate unit within a poem. So, for instance, let's say my poem is this many lines long, and then I break it up into stanzas of 4 lines each. So that would be a stanza. Okay, now activity. We are going to use one of our ideas about animals to write a poem together. So now we brainstormed all these ideas. Let's vote on which animal we'd like to write about. So we have quite a few choices. White miniature schnauzer, horse, moose, white tiger, porcupine, rattlesnake, spider, and goat. So I will run through them, and I want you to raise your hand when I call the one that you want us to write a poem about together. Okay. White miniature schnauzer. Raise your hand for the white miniature schnauzer. Okay. Raise your hand for the horse. Okay. Raise your hand for the moose. Raise your hand for the white tiger. Raise your hand for the porcupine. Raise your hand for the rattlesnake. Raise your hand for the spider. Or raise your hand for the goat. Okay, I'm pretty sure that white tiger wins. What do you think? White tiger, right?
I agree. White tiger.
Okay, great. So now let's write a poem about the white tiger. Okay, let me quickly see if I can get a picture of a white tiger. And let me open up a document as well. Okay, I'm bent over, by the way, because my computer's a little low. So let's go down over here. And we can begin. Oh, yes, and then there's one more thing. Sorry, I nearly forgot. Okay, so we need to decide what kind of poem it will be. Will it be a limerick or free verse? So those are the 2 kinds that we are going to decide on today. Limericks, remember, are the 5-line with a rhyme scheme poems, and then free verse can be unrhymed or it could be rhymed. We can basically do it however we want. So raise your hand if you would like to write a limerick. Or raise your hand if you'd like to write free verse. Okay, looks like free verse is the winner. Great. Okay. So now we know what we're going to write about and what kind it will be. So I have some great images here. Let me have. Okay, here's a white tiger. It's actually not entirely white. Has a few stripes of black. I'm not sure if there's an entirely white tiger. I think that some of them are. Most of them are sort of striped a little bit like a zebra. Okay, so let's start writing. What do you think the first line should be? Are we going to describe how the white tiger is really cute and how it looks? Or are we going to describe how it's fierce and can tear people to shreds? Well, that's a little too vicious.
This group usually goes for fierce to tearing people to shreds.
Okay, yeah, maybe not quite that graphic, but okay, let's start with describing the white tiger because, I think personally, I wasn't too sure of how a white tiger looks. I knew it looked something like that, but I think readers will probably want to know that. So how does a white tiger look? So maybe it's crouched with stripes like a zebra. How about that? So the white tiger, I'm going to put the wily white tiger. So like wily is sort of crafty. Oops, let me make the font a bit bigger. The wily white tiger is crouched. Crouched, watching prey, hoping that they don't escape away. Oh, that actually rhymes quite a bit. The wily white tiger is crouched, watching prey, hoping that they don't escape away. So that's the first 2 lines. He or she. Should it be a he or she white tiger? He, okay, sure. Let's do he then. I'm going to continue writing.